Hello and welcome to our Tuesday training here. I am your host, Amber Ludwig, your online business growth mentor, and I am especially excited for this week's training episode because I have invited a very dear friend and colleague of mine whom I have great respect for, Landon Taylor, who is the founder of the Wealth Triangle, and we are going to take a deep dive into some really fascinating topics for you today. And we're going to, give you some immediate takeaways, which is always my goal of these trainings. And so be sure to take out a pen and piece of paper. And Landon, I'm going to get started by having you sort of introduce yourself to the audience, because obviously by now they've read your bio, they've seen your photo, and probably have gone to your website. But I'd like to get started on more of a personal note and allow you the time to share your journey with us and how you got to this point with your business and your life.
Well, first of all, Amber, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm such a huge fan of your work and all that you do. So this is my bright moment, for the week, maybe the month, if you will.
Me too.
Yeah. But my journey it's been amazing because it's been a lesson, all along the way. When I think about what has brought me to the creation of the Wealth Triangle, it's really been my own, personal story. And I guess it would, given the fact that our purpose is to help people achieve what we call true wealth, which, is, to discover and then live fully in your truth, right?
Absolutely.
Which, for us, what that means is to know yourself, right? To not, what other people think you should be, or what you try to portray as some false image to be liked, but who you really are at your core, and then to do the work that you were designed and put here on this earth to do, work that no one else on the planet could do as well as you.
Right.
When you do that, we think that's true wealth. And, it's been this journey for me to find out what was keeping me from knowing my truth. And it has been the 7 Deadly Shackles, which we'll talk about in a little while. But that started back when I was 11 years old, when I had this conversation with my father. I had a couple of really tough things that happened to me early on. My mother committed suicide tragically when I was 7 years old. And my grandmother, who was like my mom, died the very next year. And those were very tragic. And oftentimes people, the way they respond to tragedy is, one, either to shrink and hide, some turn to bad things, or some become these workaholic overachievers, right, to cover up that pain. We try to cover up pain, and that's what I did. And I vowed that I was going to be this multi-millionaire, and that's how I would deal with that pain. And when I was 11, my father said to me one day, because I was telling him, "Dad, I'm tired of these 4-stripe tennis shoes." I don't know if anybody has our age and remember the 4-stripe tennis shoes. Those were winners from Sears. Nobody wanted 4-stripe. Dad, I want 3-stripe tennis shoes. I want Adidas.
Yeah,
And
right.
my dad said to me, you're ungrateful, and you are living in the wrong house. If the story of the stork were true, the stork should have flown over our house. We lived in the Fillmore district of San Francisco, which was the hood of San Francisco. It should have flown over the hood and flown to Pacific Heights, where the rich people live, because you don't belong here. That's where you belong if you think that you deserve these things that you're asking for. And at that moment, I made this decision that I said, "Don't know what, Dad? I'll never live in the projects." That's what he was telling me, that you should be grateful that you don't live in the projects. I said, "I'll never live there. I'll go, live with Grandma and Grandpa. I'm going to go become a multimillionaire. I'll show you." And
Wow.
long story short, I had this disease called, overachievement, and that the idea that I would cover up the pain that was in my heart from abandonment. I learned later that it was really this fear of not being enough because my mom left unexpectedly, that would cause me just to, work, and look at achieving these material things and all these titles, that's what would, bring me happiness. And I rode that candidly all the way up through being a top producing when I was right out of high school, right after the second year of college, a top 1% of real estate agents in all of the United States, doing incredibly well in real estate. And then from there, went into corporate America and climbed from being a sales rep all the way up to being a division president of a Fortune 300 company, flying on the company's private jets, being in meetings in the White House, and making a lot of money. And I remember in 2008, at the top of it, I reached $1 million in overall income. But what I found, Amber, was that even though I had proven my dad wrong, and yes, I had achieved this goal of reaching $1 million, in income, this little kid from the Fillmore district, I was not being authentically me, and I wasn't happy, and I wasn't fulfilled. And at that time in 2008, I made this decision to do what everyone thought was ludicrous. I left this cushy corporate job and said, I want to get back to what my truth is. And for that 10 years, I'd really studied and looked at people, and I found a common trait of those individuals who really had achieved what I think arrived at in terms of a different definition of true wealth. And most importantly, I looked at my life and I looked at theirs, and really discovered what it was that was preventing them from achieving that. And that really led to me developing this principle called the Wealth Triangle Principle, and that is designed to remove those barriers, which we call the 7 Deadly Shackles, so that they can lead to that ultimate goal of true wealth. And now, my mission is just to help 1 million men and women from around the world to be able to discover and live fully in their truth.
Wow. I mean, everybody has to be thinking, wow, over all of that. I mean, how many of us can really relate to going down a path in our lives that we think this is what we should be or what we want, and then we arrive at the door and it's not what is giving us that fulfillment? I mean, I have been there more than once in my lifetime. In fact, just recently as a few months ago, I was in Tucson visiting my dad, and I really had this strong conversation with myself, this realization where my pattern is going down this road of who I think I should be or could be versus what I really want for my life. And they're two very different things. And, I'm a person that I want to maximize my potential. I want to help as many people as possible. But the more you go toward that, I mean, you'll never reach your full potential, right? Because there's always more, you can always improve, and it really can help you achieve burnout. So you have to look inward at what is really truly going to cause you happiness in your life. So I'm loving this. So talk to me more about living your truth. Why is that so important? Because I'm sure there are people watching this that they know deep inside they're not really being authentic. So what would you say to that person? Why is it important?
Well, I really believe that you cannot really achieve true wealth if you're living incongruent with truly who you are. You will achieve, just like I did, you will achieve goal after goal after goal, and then you might be left asking that question, is this all there is? Or you might be thinking, isn't there something much more significant that I'm supposed to contribute to this universe? And I would guarantee you, until you get to that point where you're living your truth, you're being who you are authentically supposed to be, and you're doing the work that you're put here, and it may be something completely different than what everyone else says you're great at or you should do. I mean, my goodness, I was really, really good at being a corporate executive. Very good. I could do it in my sleep. But I realized that really did not make my heart beat, if you will. And if you think back on all the major achievers who have changed the world, who've had impact, where there's a legacy being built, it was something that what they did was at the core of who they were, and they were living their truth. So if the audience, if anyone is just interested in getting by, just interested in making money, just interested in checking the box and looking good, then no, you don't need to live your truth. But if you really want to live a life of significance and do what I think about, which is to have a multi-generational impact from a legacy perspective, then the only way is to do the work to discover and live fully in your truth. And that is really hard. And most people will never get there. But I will tell you the reward is unimaginable. You will finally have that inner joy, that inner peace that no title, no amount of money, no position has ever been able to offer you on a sustainable basis. That's why it's important.
So true. And Landon, how do we manage the fear of that jumping off point? I mean, here you are, this incredibly successful person, you're making money, you have a family to support, and yet you know it's not your truth. And you have that moment where you know what you need to do, and you're jumping off into the unknown. You're starting a new company from scratch. You have no idea if it's going to take off or not. I mean, yes, you're a very smart, capable person, but nothing is, nothing is certain. Nothing is for sure. So for people who know that they're not living their truth, how do we manage that fear of that jumping off point?
Well, let me raise it up high, because I think that fear is probably the anchor of what I call the 7 deadly shackles. But let me raise it up and say that, because it's what I found is not one thing, it's a combination. There are 7 deadly shackles that prevent us from even knowing what that truth is, because it's already inside. You don't have to, the acres or diamonds are already there. You just have to brush off the dirt. And they are, let me walk through them: fear, ego, debt, poor health and fitness, limiting beliefs, the opinion of others, and dysfunctional relationships. So one or more of those shackles are what's holding you back from even knowing what your truth is. Now, you mentioned fear. I think that fear is the most lethal of the 7 deadly shackles, right? Why? Number one, it's because fear blinds us from our inner genius. All of us have an inner genius, but when we are gripped by fear, we're blinded from it. Number two, fear serves as what I call like lighter fluid to ignite the other 6 deadly shackles. Fear is the anchor to ego. It's the anchor to debt. It's the anchor to the opinion of us.
So true. So
boom,
true.
Boom, boom, right? And so when you think about the most common sources of fear, for me, it's fear of not being enough, fear of being alone, fear of failure. You brought that up. Me leaving that cush job. How do you do that? The way that I found, and through the training that we do at the Wealth Triangle, I came up with 12 antidotes to fear.
Wow. Okay.
Don't have enough time to go through all 12, but let me give you a couple.
Okay.
One, you develop a incredible relationship and love affair with yourself and with the divine, which are one. Yourself and the divine are both one. Why do I say that? If you don't know yourself, if you don't love yourself, then you're gripped by fear because you're always wondering and worried about what other people are thinking about you. Or you're worried about, am I enough? You're worried about, well, what if I don't succeed? And then you are defined by whether or not you succeed. And whether or not you succeed in any particular venture has nothing to do with who you are. But if you don't know yourself, really know yourself, if you don't love yourself, then you're gripped by that fear.
I am loving this content, Landon. You are incredible. I mean, I can't stop shaking my head. I feel like one of those bobble toys, So go on.
No, so that's one. So one is to really develop that relationship. And we talk about how to do it, right? We talk about specifically how do you develop that love relationship with yourself? How do you develop that love relationship with the divine, which by the way are one. And then the second thing I teach this is step into the pain and run to the battle line. Run to the battle line. Because here's what we usually do. When we run to the battle line, that is exercising our faith and courage muscle. Your faith and courage muscle is just like any other muscle. If you don't exercise it, it has atrophy. But the more you do planks, the more you do push-ups, the more you do bench presses, the stronger you get and the more responsive your body can be. So courage and faith, which is the opposite of fear, needs to be exercised. So I teach run to the battle line. So what do I mean by that? So that phone call you're afraid to make, that meeting you're afraid to have, that conversation you're afraid to have, schedule it first thing in the morning. Schedule it for first thing in the morning. Run to it, engage with it, and then what's amazing is that when we run up to the battle line and we run up to the lion, is what I call it, it's amazing how it disappears into its nothingness.
I know. I am constantly saying that the only way through it is through it. And, you know, if you fear something, go do it, and then the death of fear is certain, right? That was a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, though he said a little bit better than I just did. But it's absolutely true. If you fear something and you think about it, the more you think about it and dwell on it, the bigger it becomes and the more paralyzed you feel. So absolutely, I'm right with you. Just charge at that battle line. That's great.
That's exactly right. And so I think, you know, when you think about, well, how do we deal with fear? You know, those are examples. I'd love to give you the balance of the 12 antidotes, and we can do that when we have more time. But a second shackle that I think that is closely linked, and it continues to have us also be gripped by fear because they're related, is debt. And that debt prevents us from discovering and living fully in our truth. Why? Because if we have debt, then we are enabling ourselves to be controlled by those we owe money to. We can't make the decisions. Let's say that dream job or that dream business that you want to do requires you to take 6 months to focus on it, requires you to move to another location. If you have all this debt, then you're not free to make your own decision to go do that. And you're not free to speak your truth. If you're at a job, you speak your truth if something's violating your conscience, because you're afraid if you lose that job, then you won't be able to take care of your livelihood for the next month or 2 months. You need to be free from that shackle so you can say what you feel, do what you desire to do, and live your truth. Now, the way to give your audience some value, what we teach in terms of how to overcome debt, it's both defense and offense. And so there's 3 things that we recommend doing that can help you break free from debt. First of all, number 1 is to implement a stabilization plan, which says stop borrowing, period. No credit cards, no borrowing, period. And begin a radical debt elimination plan. One of my co-founder and partner, Foster Stanback, he just manages his personal wealth. His focus is you shouldn't even be making investments in real estate or anything else if you have any debt. There's no investment that you can make that can pay you the ROI that's greater than 18%, right? That's on a credit card. Right. So eliminate your debt, right? And we talk about how to do that. But then that's defense. But the offensive plan is to multiply your income by 2 to 10 times. And that's something that's probably one of my most favorite things to teach is number 1, to recognize, keeping with the stock portfolio idea, you Inc. is the most valuable stock in your portfolio. And we teach how you can take what you already have, who you already are in your own brand, in the profession that you're in, and how you can, whether it be gaining, you know, like I did, I gained 5 promotions in 6 years without ever asking for one.
Wow.
Or number 2, like you teach, how do you take what you already know and become a speaker or an author or, you know, provide content? And so we teach how to do that, and that's the safest way to be able to generate revenue. Oftentimes we fall victim to these get-rich-quick schemes that tell us to go and jump into some vehicle that we never, like, let's say, invest in this llama growing business. Right? And then all of a sudden we wonder why we lost, you know, all of our money. No. The third step is take your surplus after you've eliminated your debt, multiplied your income, take your surplus and invest it in sound investment vehicles, and we talk about, you know, how to do that. And so once you've developed that plan and you're out of debt and you're now developing the type of income that can create your freedom, That's how you get over that second shackle. And that's really, really key, as a part of this overall process.
Gosh, you're so right, and I'm glad that you mentioned this is one of the shackles. I remember when I was just starting my business, I was $30,000 in debt, and I was young. I was 25-ish, and that was a lot of money to be in debt at just starting my life. But I knew that I had to get out from under that stress, that anxiety. I mean, it was literally affecting my judgment. It was that stress is terrible, right? And so what I had to do is live below my, below my means, right? You don't go out and max out, spend as much money as you're making. I had to spend less than that and chip away at it and do some of the things that you mentioned. And I know that these are really scary conversations to be having. It's a very personal decision to go after and tackle your debt. But just like Landon said, with the fear, you have to charge that battle line, right? Every single day that you delay making the decision to do something about your situation is another day that you're going to feel horrible. And you don't deserve to feel horrible in your life, So really attacking that problem head on is important. So I'm just loving this content, Landon. And so talk to me, what's another shackle that we can dive into? This is exciting.
The third, I think, all seven I think are critical, but if I were to choose top three, the third is linked to what you just said. It's the opinion of others.
Oh, yep.
So why is that a shackle? Now, for example, the opinion of others will keep you from making those radical decisions to live below your means, right? Move out of that big house and move into a smaller home, not drive that luxury vehicle, right? You're afraid of what people will think about you, so it prevents you from making those decisions. So I'm sorry, your comment just made me go there. But the opinion of others, the reason why that's a huge deadly shackle is because usually we pursue the opinion of others for the wrong motive. We pursue it because we're actually looking to be validated or liked by that person from whom opinion we're asking, as opposed to really looking for the actual truth that will lead us to the decision that allows us to actually do what's intended for us. And there's two really, I think, core roots to the opinion of others. One is this inflation of what I call self-importance, where we think that it's all about us, that when people are giving us their opinion about us, whether it's positive or negative, they think that it's actually about us. It's not. Most often it's about them.
Right.
They're operating through their movie, through their lens, where they're giving us this opinion, and it really has nothing to do. Their opinion really has nothing to do with what our truth is. And so oftentimes we can get off track just because we're trying to satisfy someone else and go do what they say, even though they're asking us to operate on their script. And so if I were to give your audience some value, I think the number one strategy that I teach about how to get over the shackle of the opinion of others is to make the decision to always choose your creative authenticity and your originality versus following the pack and following others. And at the end, because I would tell you this, most people, if they wanted a solution that's just off the shelf, right, that they can just go into the supermarket and get, they're not going to pay very much for that. You can just go anywhere and get something that everyone else is doing. But you have that genius, that what I call that IP, that intellectual property, that no one else in the universe has the same IP that you have. So if you make the decision to say, screw the opinion of others, I'm going to choose whatever my spirit says that I should do, now you're going to be able to give people transformational content because it's original from you. And you have to not worry about what other people think. And so there's very specific things that we talk about in terms of how to get that done. But choosing that creative, authentic path and not being worried about what other people think about you is a huge, huge shackle that when you remove it, the freedom and the energy that you get, you'll be amazed by.
Couldn't agree more once again. And I remember, probably age, I would say 17 until maybe 28, 29, 28, let's say. I made every effort to do things as perfectly as possible. I just tried to be likable and just do everything right, because my limiting belief is that I'm not good enough. I wasn't well liked in high school, middle school, or really elementary school. And so there was this drive to not get criticized, and I wanted everybody to like me.
Right.
And while that was, I wasn't being fake, but I also wasn't being fully authentic.
Right.
And when I really realized that and started just being me, fully me,
Yes.
and just knowing that criticism is going to happen regardless of how perfect we are or not, right? And everybody doesn't have to like us, but the right people will be attracted to our energy field,
That's right.
if you will. And then we're going to be so much happier. Like you said, we'll have so much more energy because we can just rest into being what is natural for us. And it makes all the difference in the world in your marketing, in your sales results, in the growth of your company, building your following. I mean, I'm telling you, it's totally a shift. It's all in your mindset. But as Landon said, it's really critical. So,
and you know what, Amber, let me just chime in on
yeah.
one thing. Is, your audience are thought leaders, right? That's what I know about your audience. And I think if you want to drive this point of why you should not let the opinion of others control you, if you want to drive that home, here's one big reason. Think about all of the change agents who were thought leaders, and your audience are change leaders. Think of change agents. Think about the change agents in the world. What if they would have been controlled by the opinion of others? Right. What if Martin Luther King? What if Gandhi? What if people like Barack Obama? What if people like Mother Teresa, right? What if people like Nelson Mandela? What if people like John F. Kennedy? What if they were willing to be controlled by the opinion of others? How would history be different? So when you get tempted, and I get tempted, think about those great change agents and decide, do I want to be like just the everyday Joe and be good, or do I want to be great like those change agents? And that'll give you the courage to choose your authentic path.
Exactly. Wow, Landon. Well, gosh, I could have all day with you and it still wouldn't be enough. I just think the world of Landon and everything that he teaches, and he's been in my life for a while now, and it's truly a blessing. I would strongly encourage you to continue to reach out to Landon and get to know what he's up to, because he'll change your life in a very positive way. He's done that for me. So Landon, what are ways that people can engage with you further? I mean, coaching, membership, what do we got here?
Well, first of all, people can just go to our website at thewealthtriangle.com and receive, without any cost, begin to receive tips, tools, insights on how to start freeing yourself from the 7 Deadly Shackles. Go to our Facebook page. I provide, great inspiration every day on our Facebook page, which is Facebook, Wealth Triangle on Facebook. You know how to get there. And you can get free access there. Next month, we're going to be launching what I call the Wealth Triangle Peak Performance Membership, and that'll be the opportunity to go deep in the training, to be able to accelerate your learning around how to live that life of a Wealth Triangle warrior. And so I'm sure we'll get some information out to you.
I'm literally giddy. I can't wait for you to hurry up and finish this so that I can check it out.
And then we do have a private, what I call kind of a CEO level Wealth Triangle advisory program. A very small group of individuals that I work with, and through that advisory practice or coaching, I dive in and do a custom analysis of where an individual is with respect to their path to true wealth, and then help design a program that will get them there. That also includes, 2 days a year where we can spend all day together, and then really access to my entire personal network to help their business grow, whatever they want to accomplish on an ongoing basis. So those are a few ways. There's a couple of things I can't mention yet that we'll announce this next month in terms of some forums that we'll do, but that's enough to start.
Well, and Landon, you are going to be in my life forever. And so anytime that you launch something new, I'm happy to support it through my network and make sure that everybody in my community knows about it because I think you add pure value. The people that
Mm,
I choose to interview, I only do it usually once every 3 of these live video cast sessions, and the other times I'm doing training. But I am
mm,
extraordinarily picky about who I bring into my network, and I really want people that are authentic and true, that are all about giving real value, not
mm.
just a sales pitch, not just another coach, but somebody that's really going to make an impact. Those are the people that I choose to surround myself with, and you are definitely in the center of that circle. So I just want to thank you so much for your time here today.
Well, Amber, I am delighted. Anything I can ever do for you, I'm at your service, and I'm very, very grateful to be able to play a role in the great work that you're doing. You're changing lives, and that's what I've signed up to be a servant to. So thank you for today.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching, now it's time to really engage in discussion. And this is one of the best parts of doing these weekly trainings. Down below this video, I would encourage you to make a comment and feel free to ask us any questions that you have. And I can ask Landon to help reply to some that are specific to his topic.
Mm.
Definitely let us know what your top takeaway is here. We're really encouraging you to give some feedback. Reach out to Landon. I'll put all of his website and social media links below. And definitely follow him on social media because I think that you'll see just by looking at his postings and being around him that it's going to inspire you and give you the courage to battle those fears and to create the life that you ultimately really love and that you can be happy with. So I want to thank you for your time here today on this session, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks a lot.